Hello, my name is James Wells, and this is my presentation on administrative reform in government. Public administration is basically your policies, procedures, systems, personnel that are funded by taxpayers, and the decisions that are made at all levels of government and how they interact with society. Pendleton Act is one of the earlier acts of administrative reform. Really put an emphasis on hiring on merit, not on who you know. The Hatch Act, that was another act of administrative reform, but it was put to keep managers in the public sector and executives out of partisan politics so that they couldn't influence employees, things of that nature. National Performance Review is one that I remember because it's something that happened in my lifetime, and it was done by the Clinton and Gore administration. They did a lot of downsizing, but they also did some re-engineering, and we're going to get into that later. The approaches to administrative reform, you got downsizing, re-engineering, and motivation. Downsizing is cutting staff. It's trying to get as much done with the least amount of people possible. That was a big focus of the National Performance Review. Re-engineering was also a big part of the National Performance Review because technology was starting to grow. You had the internet coming along. You could do more with the internet to lessen the amount of people in government and still get the amount of work done that you need to get done. Then there's motivation, and that is not just paying your employees well, but it's showing your employees this is what your work does. When you, let's say, build a park, you're the one that designs it, you see how that affects the public and how that can make people's lives better. It motivates you to want to do better, get better, move up higher. Effective administrative reform. Some of the examples were in the NPR. You had the downsizing of the IRS by using e-filing. More people could e-file, less people had to be at the IRS to go through all the work. More recently, you see a lot of contracting in the public sector. It's a big private sector. It's a practice from the private sector, but it's something where you take private sector companies, you get them to do services that the public sector would normally provide, and you do it at a lower cost. Ineffective administrative reform, some of it's from the same act. The NPR, which did a lot of good, also some of their downsizing wasn't really studied well enough, and they realized they couldn't do the level of work they needed to with the small amount of employees that they had from cutting them. Contracting doesn't always work out. Costs go over budget, and you also sometimes just have bad customer service, and it makes whoever made that decision look bad. Making the public sector work like the private sector is ineffective examples of administrative reform because they're so different, the goals are different, it just doesn't work as well. You have different administrations coming in, so there's always going to be reform. There's not a lot of consistency because new administrations want things done their way. Why is administrative reform going to continue? Well, as technology grows, it's going to change processes. And then as the processes change, you're going to realize things can improve, and there's always going to be room to improve, so there's always going to be administrative reform. And that is my presentation. Thank you.